Hello, happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to What You Need to Know. My name is Sybil Wilkes, and I am here every Monday through Thursday in the evenings, usually about 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 on the East Coast, and we talk news and other information. It's based upon the information that we put into our What You Need to Know newsletter. That is something we do every day, Monday through Friday, and we encourage you and invite you to become a subscriber. Please go to SybilWilkes.com. That's Sybil like the crazy girl, Wilkes like John Wilkes Booth. That's what my parents gave me. Give us your name and your email address, and we will have that in your email box every morning, Monday through Friday, as I said. And then in the evening, we come together with friends of ours, including today's co-host, Guy Torry, and others who join me. And normally it's folks that we have worked together at the Tom Jordan Morning Show. And Guy was one of our popular funny chair comedians, and other days we have George Wallace and Myra J. and a lot of folks like Stephen Hill coming on and joining us. And
Yeah.
today we have a special guest, Guy Torry. This
Yes.
is the president of the National Bar Association, and so I want to thank you very much,
So
President
am I.
Hoffler,
So am
for
I.
joining us.
So am I.
You
It's a
are
different type of bar, though.
a different kind of a different
It's a different type of
NBA
bar.
and a different bar. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
different bar.
absolutely. CK Hoffler is the president of the National Bar Association, and congratulations to you. You were installed this summer.
Yes, I was. Thank you so much. I was installed at the end of July.
Con-
Everything virtual because of COVID. So
And what a time to take over
Wow.
this great administration, and how has that been for you?
well, it's been just incredible. I knew, it is an honor and a labor of love for me to serve and to head this organization. I love the National Bar Association.
Yeah.
But I really didn't know when I ran for president-elect and when I knew that my term was coming up, COVID was nowhere around.
Right.
So I thought that I would, as my predecessors had, I thought I would be on the road. I would go visit our affiliate chapters, make appearances, do all of those things. And then COVID happened. And I
Right.
was like, well, what in the world is this? So it completely changed the nature of my service. But I have to tell you, I always say we always have to find a silver lining in the cloud because I think we have three pandemics. We've got COVID-19,
Yeah.
election suppression, and we
Hmm.
have police brutality. And it's all happening together. Now, we know that police brutality has been going on from time immemorial. There's not been a time in my lifetime, and I've been a lawyer for 33 years, where we haven't seen police brutality, excessive use of force, and all of that. But what's happening now in this country,
Yeah.
and the awake for some, not for us, but for some, that's what's relatively new. And then, of course, election suppression. Well, in my lifetime, we've always seen election suppression.
Hmm.
Didn't have the right to vote before I was born. And so those who died and sacrificed and marched so we had the right to vote,
Right.
secured the right to vote, and we had the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. But then here we are now today in 2020 protecting the right to vote.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Protecting the right to vote. So yeah, I didn't expect this, but I love it. I love the National Bar, and we have a clarion call. We have got to get into our communities the way that Black lawyers used to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
should always do. Whether it's virtual or not, we are those pallbearers. We can speak truth to power because we can go into court, and
Mm.
that many can't. So yeah, it's different. It's different, but I'm not
Now,
complaining.
now, did
Yeah.
you get to? Did you get to? Is there a new office? Did you get to move in, or you still have to work from home?
What happened was no, I didn't get to move in, didn't get to do any of that. Haven't been on any, this is amazing. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But haven't seen the new office. Haven't.
Right.
It's not even a picture. No kind of family. No nothing. And probably won't.
Yeah.
Get that. I mean, I'm praying that we will be able to travel safely and to conduct business safely. But in the meantime, we have to be about the business, about being about the business.
Is your term for 1 year?
It's just 1 year.
Yeah.
So
Is there a possibility of a mulligan, a do-over?
Right.
No do-over. We have to make it work,
Yeah.
and we have to do the best. And quite frankly, COVID has forced us into a
Mhm.
space that we probably needed to be in anyway. We need to
Right.
all make sure that we are automated, high tech, and can communicate our message no matter what. I mean, I have not see, I lie about my age, so I'm just going to go ahead. The fact that I tell people I'm 37 and all of
We can go with that. We can go with
We'll go with
that.
that. Yeah, you started at 4.
That's the only lie you ever tell.
we can go with all that. To say hypothetically, probably been about 45 years since I haven't traveled in 6 months.
Wow.
I mean, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
as a lawyer, the first part of my practice 33 years ago was international work, so I traveled extensively. But before then, I traveled a lot. So this notion, the last flight I took was on March 9th of 2020. That's amazing. I traveled almost every week. And I would do day trips because I have teenage children.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to, do day trips. And so I might do 2 day trips a week easily,
Mm-hmm.
at least 1 a week. But this notion of not traveling and needing to communicate from one space, either in my home or in my office when nobody else is in there, because we are very, very vigilant with the social distancing.
Right.
We're not playing with that. And so it's really different. But what it's forced us to do, all of us, me included, just as a leader of this magnificent, robust organization, is to do more to communicate and to get out the word. So it's not good enough to get on a plane, speak, talk to people, have a dinner, hold hands, and get off the plane. I have to every single day, be about the business of making sure that those 3 pandemics and what Black lawyers are doing, that we are about the business of doing that. And so, I guess it's not all bad, and I love the organization. So what can I say?
Well, you can hear the passion and the love in your voice, and I don't know if I explained enough, but can you tell people who are or who are the members of the National Bar Association?
Absolutely. The National Bar Association, not to be confused with the NBA, the National Basketball. We represent the interests of over 66,000 predominantly African-American lawyers, judges, law professors, and students. Over 66,000.
Wow.
So when we talk about, we've got, affiliate chapters throughout the country, and we have regions, we've got affiliates, we've got really a robust structure. And soon we'll be celebrating 100 years of existence.
Wow.
Constance Baker Motley, Thurgood Marshall, Fred Gray, Willie Gary, Arthenia Joyner, H.T. Smith. I could go on and on and on. Ben Crump, Lonita Baker, Daryl Parks, Lee Merritt, Chris Stewart. All of those people are all lawyers, National Bar lawyers, and leadership.
Yeah.
Not just lawyers, they're leadership.
I had a Black judge this morning in court. I wish I would have known. I would have dropped your name.
You would have thrown out President Hoffler's name there, guy.
All I got was a new court date. I mean, it was traffic court, but it was still a Black judge. He was a Black judge. And I couldn't, because we had the mask on, I couldn't use my celebrity, or I couldn't use my smiling dimples. I just had the eyes. I just looked out like this, like, hey, man, go ahead and let me go.
And he was probably like, yeah, okay, right.
Because Guy, he didn't even see it on the ticket as Guy Torry, did he?
No, because I had my first name.
Your government name, yeah.
My government name, yeah. So I was like trying to get, because you couldn't pull your mask down. I was trying to like, hey, maybe you recognize my voice.
Maybe my big brother Joe.
Well, no, that'd get me more time.
So we are talking with our friend, of course, Guy Torry, and he is co-hosting with me today as we welcome and have the wonderful opportunity to talk to the president of the National Bar Association, CK Hoffler. Now, President Hoffler, let me ask you this. Your history with the NBA, with the National Bar Association, goes back to law school, does it not?
It does. When I was in law school, I thought that the National Bar Association was mandatory, because that's the way it was presented to me. I met with John Crump, who was then the executive director, and he was our executive director for over 30 years. And I just knew, because law school to me was very difficult. It was a difficult journey. It was a rite of passage. Just to know that there was an organization that I felt had my back, a place I could go, because you catch, as African-American lawyers, as African-American law students, it's not always easy. We catch a lot of hell. No matter where you go, if you're breaking through the glass ceiling, people are trying to hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always a warm, friendly, kumbaya environment, but just to know that there was an organization of people like me, so accomplished. It's the only place that I've ever gone, and I'm a member of other bar organizations, where I would have just unfettered access to judges, to high-powered lawyers, to people who have done it, people who can tell you the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a young lawyer, when you're law students, you're so hungry. So I was impressed with the National Bar Association back then. I knew a lot of members of the National Bar, but there was nothing like going to my first convention. I was like, you got to be kidding. Just the feeling and knowing that you're part of something, and that there were programs that could help train you in all of the disciplines. And we do have the best and the brightest in the world. So it wasn't just that you had a person here, a person there. It was that magnificent. Now, other bar associations are that way for some people. And again, I'm a member of many bar associations, but the Bar Association has been that, and is that for me. And so many, many jurists and scholars at the top of their game.
The black glass ceiling is tempered. You're gonna shatter it for a while, then it's gonna take a while to break through it. So I understand.
And you always have
talking. I'm sorry, you were saying when President Hoffler?
You always have to be on it. You break a glass ceiling, another one comes. You're like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I thought I had. Yeah. You turn around and something else happens. So you always have to be on it.
You talked about the limitations being under this pandemic, and how you have not traveled now in close to 7 months, and so I'm thinking that with all the things that have gone on this summer, we obviously here on the What You Need to Know, as a part of Tom Joyner's legacy, we have learned to super serve the African American community. So all of our news is directed towards that audience, and so a lot of our news stories have been about Breonna Taylor, about George Floyd, about the Blake shooting, and Ahmaud Arbery, and you name it. We've been talking about it, but I suspect that you would have been in some of these places as these cases were coming about.
Absolutely. Well, Breonna Taylor, lead counsel on that, is a young woman who's 39 years old.
I love her.
39, Lanita Baker.
Yes.
Baker is a current vice president of the National Bar Association. Just have to say that. She's just bad to the core.
Yeah.
She's a former prosecutor. She's a former defense lawyer. Now she's doing civil litigation. I have a case with her. We have a med mal case in Kentucky. She brought me in on, just as she brought Ben in on the Breonna Taylor case. Mm-hmm. See, that's what we do. That's what we do. Everybody has a different role in cases. If you want to get the Uber person who does this, then you do that, because we have that in our organization. So she is really the architect. She's from Kentucky. She's there. It's her city. You see her on TV. It's personal.
You can hear it.
It's personal because it's her city that's burning down.
That's right.
It's her attorney general who's,
yeah, okay. Yeah. And that's a worth conversation too. Yeah, absolutely.
So we have to speak truth to power. Simply because you're African American, it doesn't always mean that in my humble impression, you speak truth to power. We know that in every industry. And we're going to have differences.
Right.
And so I let Lanita Baker express it best, because I'm not licensed in Kentucky. I have to waive in for my case, but she is, and she knows Kentucky law, and she's seasoned. And so when she says that as to some of the legal issues and justifications, where in my impression there are no justifications, that the Attorney General has given as to why, why you are going to find an indictment for these endangerment, lesser, raggedy offenses for a family who's white, who was, because they did 32 rounds of ammunition, because they shot 32 rounds in an apartment building, obviously there were people who were endangered. So there was a white family that was endangered. There was a black family that was endangered. White, black. So the indictment was as it relates to the sole white family that was endangered, not the black family. That's number one. And again, I'm just speaking truth to power. We don't need to get high tech. I'm not getting deep into Kentucky law. I saved that for Lanita because you all heard her speak about this.
Mm-hmm.
But no indictment as it relates to the black family. But how about the person who was most endangered?
Come on.
If you didn't want to bring charges for murder or for manslaughter and all that because of other things for as it relates to Lanita, as it relates to Breonna Taylor. Let's say you did it, and we have to say her name over and over and over again. How in the world, as we used to say back in the day, how in the world can you bring about an indictment for lesser charges and not include the endangerment of Breonna Taylor at a minimum?
Mm-hmm.
That's just baffling to me. But I mean, just baffling. It's baffling.
And I talked to an attorney here in Los Angeles who's a former DA, and I was asking them, is that the best charge they could have done? And someone kept saying under Kentucky law that was the best, but no, I mean that could have been like one of three of the lesser charges, right? It could have been reckless endangerment first, and then you maybe fall on wanton, right? Or no?
I'm making a more basic point. If you found that lesser charge and indictment for the white family, you mean to tell me you couldn't find that for the woman who died?
Hello.
Right.
Come on.
I'm just saying, you mean to tell, and what about the black family?
Yeah.
All endangered. So I find I'm with Lanita Baker and Ben Crump when I say this. Let's unseal the grand jury record.
Yes.
Grand jury.
That's what, yes.
That proceeding is a secret proceeding. And there are reasons for it to be secret. We certainly understand, but there's some abuse of something here. And a lot of times, and I'm not a prosecutor, I have not been a prosecutor, but I do know that prosecutors use the grand jury to determine when they want to push something for indictment, they use a grand jury to do that. When they don't, they don't. They know how to present the evidence. Just like when I'm doing a civil trial, I present the evidence most persuasive to a jury, because that's who I usually talk to as a jury. And so that's what it is. So we want to know, what did you say? What did you say? What was not said?
Right.
Was her name called? Did someone say Breonna Taylor? Did someone call her name and connect the dots? Don't know. But it just seems awfully strange. And I'm deferring to the Kentucky lawyers on this. I'm not presuming, I'm not licensed in Kentucky, but it seems awfully strange, according to the Kentucky lawyers, that this was the outcome. Maybe let's say if they couldn't get an indictment for murder or even manslaughter or something else, but for reckless endangerment and not have that black family, it just, and Breonna Taylor, it just begs the question, how was the evidence presented?
So that's my question. Okay,
yeah.
so, and we're talking to CK Hoffler. She is the president of the National Bar Association. And I need to know, how was this man, the Attorney General, what is his experience in presenting to a jury, let alone a grand jury? Does he have any kind of prosecution?
I think he has some little experience here and there. I mean, let me take that back. I believe he does have some experience.
Okay.
But a lot of people have some experience. Because the thing is this, the tragedy is a black woman was murdered. Black lawyers represent her. That's the beauty of it. Black families are represented by black families and others too. There are other rainbow legal team. But there's a black attorney general who sat there and formed his lips to read what he read. That's the tragedy of it. That's the irony of it. That's the devastation of it. And that's something we just have to look at and read and just say what we say. So that's why I say a lot of people have experience. It's just like, for instance, when we're talking about the president's nominee for Supreme Court. Okay. Amy Barrett. So people have said, oh, she's brilliant. She's brilliant. And brilliant is the latest word to describe someone who you are applauding. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. The brilliant this. I've been called the most brilliant lawyer in America. 100 times. She's just absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Okay. But there's always someone more brilliant than you.
Right.
There's always someone who has a better handle. There's always someone who's more qualified. In this case, there's always someone who believes in civil rights. Always
Come
someone
on.
who believes in voting rights. There's always someone who believes in human rights. There's always someone who believes in furthering the rights of the LGBTQ community. There's always someone who believes in immigration. There's always someone who believes in women's reproductive rights. And there's always someone who believes in a woman's right to choose.
Yes.
Right.
So many qualified.
Brilliant.
But that is not what we have here. She probably has done she's achieved something. I give people their just due. She is, on the appellate court, she's achieved something in her life, of course. But we're talking about who should be on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yes.
Not the U.S. Supreme Court, who's going to decide, these justices are going to decide the fate of this country for decades. My children,
for life.
That's right.
Are teenagers. When they grow old,
That's
these
right.
could be on the Supreme Court. They are young. These are appointments for life. And right now, what we have is a 5-4 conservative majority. But that 4 makes a difference. I don't know if you all remember that opinion in Shelby versus Holt.
2013, yes.
2013, because I see we have vote, vote, vote. We're telling our people, vote today, vote tomorrow, vote, vote, vote. Don't let anyone take away your right to vote. The reason why that opinion was so critical, and Justice Ginsburg wrote a crushing dissent. It wasn't, and I just have to break it down this way. It wasn't like let's see, and thus therefore, and thus to the power of the thus, and then we thus do whatever, and I do. It wasn't that type of dissent. It was crushing. We have taken a step backwards. She said that because there were pre-clearances that the states would have to go through before they were to impose any changes to voting laws. And this was born out of the discrimination that, Black people sustained in voting. There was a reason why we had these things in place, why there were parts that we had to protect Black and brown people when they were voting. Right. It was by happenstance. It's because of discrimination. So when those pre-clearances, when that opinion was issued, she wrote the dissent and she said, taking away those pre-clearances is like being in the middle of a storm with an umbrella and closing your umbrella and saying because you didn't get wet.
Right.
What? Yeah. And let me tell you, it set all of the, in my humble impression, all of the election suppression we're seeing now imposed by states as they do what they want to do when they want to do how they want to do to cause confusion and all that is because of the Shelby versus Holder decision where all bets are off. They just do whatever. And you can trace it back. Closing the precincts. Yep. Before COVID, they were closing precincts now in different states. Wasn't no COVID around. So the fact that in Kentucky, how about Kentucky?
Yeah, well, let's talk about that primary, right?
Right. How 97% of the precincts were closed. Now how does that work? It impacts Black folk because in the communities where they were closed, they were in minority communities.
Right.
Yeah.
But even despite that, our National Bar Association, Black lawyers and others got together, arranged for senior citizens who didn't have any transportation. They would walk maybe 1 block to their voting precinct. That's what neighborhoods. That's how it's supposed to be. Now they have to go 20, 30 miles away during COVID.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, President Hoffler, because this is a great concern. I've been working with the presidents of the Divine Nine and talking about all of the efforts in terms of getting ready for 6 weeks from tomorrow. But it's already started in a lot of places, right? And so we're talking about, how do we make sure that people's voting rights are not suppressed? How do we make sure that the mail-in ballots are getting in? How do we make sure that our seniors are getting to the polls if that's what they want to do? Does the National Bar Association, have you all made all of those plans, or have you followed from previous years this new plan to get this done in the age of coronavirus?
Absolutely, positively. In fact, since you're talking about the Divine Nine, we formed a historic relationship. We have over 800 AKAs that are registering in our election protection program through the National Bar Association. The CAPA said, well, we can do better than the AKs. We can't, just let the AKAs. 800 lawyers. They said over 1,000 lawyers. Well, the Alphas have already partnered with the National Bar Association and helping in Florida to restore the rights of the convicted felons.
Mm-hmm.
You know the problem that they have in Florida.
That's another question I had for you about that. Yeah.
On that, partners with FRRC, which is the organization that's leading the charge of restoring the rights of those citizens and helping to pay those fines. So the Alphas partnered with us and them, and together the National Bar, through our Young Lawyers Division. Man, our young lawyers are on fire. Anika Williams,
nice.
on fire. And we partnered, we had training sessions. So yes, the Divine Nine, right now we've got 4 of the Divine Nine. We know the Qs are going to come on because Omega Psi Phi, to the day they die, be outdone. And I say that jokingly, but also, the Deltas. We have this extraordinary leadership and lawyers throughout the Divine Nine, also with the Boulay. So it's not with the Boulay, other organizations. We're encouraging them all to register through us or with us or to partner with us for this reason. My responsibility and our responsibility is to get the Black lawyers out there, because there are 5 ways that we're advocating for them to participate in election protection. So, in election protection, you got 2 types. You've got the partisan part, which is with the DNC and the RNC, they have their election protection lawyers. That's not what I'm talking about. That's different. That's partisan, Democratic, Republicans. That's not what we're involved in, because we're a 501c3 and a 501c9, so we can't do that. We're involved in the nonpartisan effort through the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights that are partners, the NAACP, ACLU, all of those organizations are our partners, where we are educating our voters and protecting the right to vote. So you talked about educating our communities. One of the things that we're doing and working with our religious communities, it is so important, because we know at our core, our churches, our religious communities, and we know they have 501c3, but they all do a lot of training of our folks. And we need the churches to do that even during COVID, because on a Zoom call for the churches, you can have 12,000, 14,000 people just like that. No biggie. In fact, Barbara Arnwine, who used to be at the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights and now is the CEO and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, is one of our partners. She's our senior advisor at the NBA. We have a calendar for every single day what the National Bar is doing between now and every day. So our coalition partners of the Divine Nine and other groups are plugged into that as we make sure that Black lawyers are in there. And let me just quickly say how they can participate. They can be hotline captains. What does that mean? When there are problems at the polls, you got to escalate it up to the hotline. So the captains are the ones, there are about 780 something odd captains that will get the information and get it to where it needs to go. So those are the hotline cap. That's one way. Working the hotline. That's the second way. Just working the hotline. We need lawyers to work hotlines. When people call, they have problems, they have questions, they have issues. We need lawyers on point in those jurisdictions. So if you call the general number, you will be funneled to the lawyers in your state and your locality to help you. Third way is rapid response litigation. Now, there's one thing we know how to do. Now, we may have other things we don't do well. But if there's one thing we know how to do as lawyers, and that only lawyers can do, is get into court. And we know that as it relates, first of all, there's over 200 pieces of litigation right now related to elections, from issues involving identification cards, from the U.S. Postal Service, all around the country, a lot of litigation. But come election day, it's going to be even more critical to monitor that. Because, for instance, during Stacey Abrams, I live here in Atlanta, Georgia, so when I think about that, I just, during that debacle in Georgia, some of the polling stations had to stay open later. Why? Because there were lines all around buildings, wrapped around. In this last primary in Georgia, it took me less than 10 minutes to vote. It took me 5 hours. Why? Because the brand new machines the state bought with taxpayer money after Stacey Abrams' race were not working. These are brand new machines. Because people in certain precincts, not all over, certain precincts, progressive precincts, for instance, weren't trained on them. So the poll workers, they were expecting 12 poll workers, 16, only 4 showed up. Things like this, not enough paper ballots. They had 24, the number before 25, 24 paper ballots in my precinct with hundreds of people in line. 24. Yeah. 24. And they had to go send off for more ballots to get to the clerk to that. That's all what had happened was scenario for me. That's all that was. It's just crazy.
Well, you talk about the Divine Nine helping with the voter. I did a spot for the AKAs actually that it's working because they ran it during HBCU football game. I got tons of calls saying that they saw the spot, so that's definitely working. Number two, what I want to say, I have a friend who works in Buffalo in the post office, and they said that they have packages backed up for weeks, and they took out 6 machines. The machines was working totally fine. They won't let them work overtime, and they won't hire new people. They took the machines out and didn't put them in a storage somewhere. They took them to the scrap yard. The scrap yard, so that if one breaks down, you can't go get the other one you took out and replace it. You're just out of luck. And that's the voter suppression that they're doing. Along as, and I would love for you to speak on, like Michigan, I believe is one of the states that won't allow you to take someone to the polls. It's illegal to drive someone to the polls. And we know with senior citizens who don't drive and churches who get bus loads to take them to the polls, that's illegal in some places.
So that's what I call crazy election suppression. But there's a way, because when you're at voting, when you're going to vote, there's like 100 yards where you're not supposed to have any political anything.
Right.
So I believe, and I don't know if this is the case, but I believe it might be permissible in those jurisdictions to drive people to a certain point, and then you have to turn off. I believe it could be that, but it's all crazy because just think about it. What's the harm in bringing a senior citizen straight to the door? Door. They can't walk. They got a walker. So you're gonna have someone on a cane and a walker it's ridiculous, and that's election suppression, and that's what we see in our communities. So that's why having election suppression lawyers, I talked about 2 ways. The third way was rapid response lawyers. Another way is at the polls, being there at the polls. Not everybody's going to be comfortable with that because we're in COVID. So lawyers can be at their desk and participate. Others want to be at the polls. And that kind of thing, for instance, knowing the rules in the jurisdiction, knowing what's permissible, being there as guidance for the people. And then the 5th way is, we talked about this, being educators for your community. That's so important. All of us should do that. You all do that every day on your show. That's what this is, educating the community. We don't have the right not to. We really don't. This is the fight of our lives. The reason why, one of the reasons, there's this rapid effort to get a new Supreme Court justice in there, in addition to wanting a very, very conservative bench, is so that if there are any election issues that they're gonna have it, they'll have their bench to make it. We're not Bobo the Clown. We do understand that, but that is just a lack of transparency. We should have an appropriate vetting process like we always do.
And while I've got you here, though, and this is something that I do want to talk about. And I'm sorry, hang on one second, Guy. Is there a way to delay the vote on Amy Coney Barrett? Is there a way to stop this from happening?
Well, I wish, I, for a living, am as creative as I can be. But I really think unless we have enough senators to block it, it's going to happen.
That's it.
Right.
It will.
We can delay it.
Yes. Yeah. I don't even know about delay. We can delay it because there should be an appropriate vetting process. But ultimately, it goes to the Senate. So unless there are enough senators to block it, which currently I don't believe we have.
They've got 2 Republicans thus far. That's it.
And that gives them a 6-3 conservative advantage. But then if Justice Breyer, who's 82, if he in the next term, and God forbid Trump gets reelected, then they'll have a 7-2 advantage.
And we don't know
Supreme Court. Right.
And so what I want people to understand is, because I think people are really myopic. Many of us are myopic. And we just think you're not today what's in front of me. Oh, you're going to be thinking about something when we go back, when the right to vote is challenged.
Right.
We saw the right to vote. People think, oh, it's automatic. Oh, no, it's not automatic.
No, it's not.
That's why Shelby versus Holder. It was a decision. That's why I call it notorious. We call it the notorious RBG. We need to call it that because not everybody's perfect, but on voting rights, on human rights, and on civil rights, she was very strong.
And that's the crazy thing, because even the Chief Justice was saying, I thought we were beyond all of this. I thought that they didn't need to have all of the pre-clearances and all of this, that this wasn't a problem anymore. And then she comes up and says, that's like saying you don't need the umbrella because you didn't get wet.
And look what happened. Within 5 years, 1,000 voting precincts.
Yes.
1,000. And now, they can just close, people just close, the election officials close the voting precinct because, we have COVID. Please understand, I'm very sensitive to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We have to protect ourselves, which is another thing the NBA is doing. We raise money, and we're continuing to raise money so we can put protective gear in some of the most difficult cities where we know people don't have the money for protective gear. And we also are doing a 27-state training. The 27 worst states for election suppression, we're training at our upcoming conference on October 15th through the 17th, our Wiley-Branton conference. So all of our Divine Nine partners, all the people, and we're training with the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights, NAACP, all of them, we're doing this together, but it's under the umbrella of the National Bar Association, because my goal is over 7,000 Black lawyers dispersed to protect the right to vote. At a minimum, that's a little over 10% of the Black lawyers that are in this country.
Yeah.
Drop in the bucket. That's so little to ask, but we need to do that. So we have to remember that the right to vote, just as people thought, the right of a woman to determine that whatever happens to her life, how about that?
Yeah, Roe Wade.
Yeah.
Roe versus Wade. Want to talk about something that we know Barrett is not going to support, and that is Roe versus Wade. Now we know that.
That's right.
We know that. Now,
She's not.
We don't need
and
to.
the Affordable Care Act.
Right. For that gone, as people say, that's going to be gone. I think that we need to really think about these things. We got to think beyond. A lot of people say, well, the Supreme Court, that has nothing to do with me. That has nothing. I don't even all that. That would be that we can't afford that way. That's why I believe it's up to those who can and Black lawyers to get out there and talk to people. And you can do it remotely. As I tell my members every day, you can get on Zoom. Free stuff. This is free. Free.
Yeah.
So there's really no reason not to do it.
It is incumbent upon us to tell people if we're not lawyers, we didn't put in the time to go to law school and be a part of your wonderful organization. Can we still work with you guys to make that happen?
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. We need non-lawyers just as much. It is the contribution to our community. Sybil, what you're doing, and Guy, what you're doing, that's just unparalleled in educating people every single day, reminding people of what's important, bringing us back home, because we could just, start focusing on all this other stuff, somebody's shoes, whenever. How about you may not have the right to vote? Talk about somebody's shoes. You may not have the right to vote soon, within the next 5 years. Because once they get going, there's going to be a case that's going to go up to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's going to challenge the Voting Rights Act of 1965 again.
Yeah.
And we can't rely on, anyway, we have to do this. So non-lawyers, there's a lot you can do. Even working the hotlines, being in your communities, doing the education. A lot of the education is not legal education. Mm-hmm. Knowing. Like, people don't even know. Ask people, when is election day?
November 28th, according to Trump.
And we're laughing, but there was a disinformation campaign. Elections on Google. How about that?
Yeah.
People were, I thought we were supposed to vote next week. Okay. Where'd you get that? Well, I had this, something came in my phone because I thought, and it was all of that. Mm-hmm. All of that. So we have to be there, because a lot of people may not have these kind of phones. They may not be able to afford the iPhone. They might have a flip phone. It still works. They can still communicate.
Okay.
Right.
So we have to be there, and we have a whole new group of homeless people right now, by design, that have been evicted because of COVID. You notice, not by coincidence, when this ran out, all of a sudden, people are not, they have to pay their fine. They have to do a lot of things. And it's tragic. I see in Atlanta new homeless people. How do I know they're new? because I see people not with, like you might see people with a shopping cart, and it's
Right.
breaks my heart. Now people have 3 or 4 shopping carts and luggage and household goods. Like you see pots, you see pans, you see 3 or 4 umbrellas because it's raining a lot here. Those are things that typically homeless people don't have. 3 or 4 well-maintained umbrellas, nice luggage on wheels.
They just got there.
That's new. That's new. It's tragic.
Yeah, I'm downtown Los Angeles, so I see a lot of that as well. I've seen it increase since COVID. I mean, there's always a problem down here, but it's getting a little worse now. And that's what
Guy, you're a part of a really great organization providing food for people that you go out and do that on a regular basis. Are you finding that people are engaging in conversations?
Yeah, my Friend's House Foundation, LA. We actually have one in Atlanta as well. Tiffany Rose put it together. But yeah, a lot of new homeless people are getting in line, and we provide food, prayer, clothes, and things like that. And we have a boutique that we sell things out of, and the money goes back to feeding those homeless. But we got a lot of people who are coming into those places asking for food, asking for prayer, asking for just any information on shelters. And that has increased over the last several months. And it's sad because they're families, that are out there, and children. And it's a terrible thing to see. And I think, like you said, it's by design. It was by design. And that's what I miss about being on stage doing comedy, because I make sure I'm not just a silly comedian, but I make sure that I educate as well. And I'm always talking about, the election. I'm always telling convicted felons, hey, you can do your part by driving people to the polls. Do your part. You can't vote, some of you guys, but you can drive somebody to the polls. So I really miss being that messenger.
A lot of them can vote in some states. That's the problem.
And look at Mike Tyson. Right. He didn't know, and he's going to vote now.
And Snoop. Yeah.
And a whole bunch of other people that we know that don't say nothing about it. So it's just a beautiful thing to be able to vote. And people make mistakes, but they can get their rights restored in a lot of states.
Yeah.
And it's just that knowledge. And Florida just wanted to put a poll tax on it.
Yeah. Right. So can we talk about that? Because we've been talking about that since we were doing the Joiner show. And the gentleman who was a part of that committee to get the Voting Restoration Act, Desmond
Meade.
Yes. And so, and then how the Republicans put together that bill in order to have that poll tax and to clear their records. Can you talk about where they are now? Because I understand now the Florida legislature is also talking about making it illegal for the contributions, the fundraising to go on to pay the funds of the restitution of these people.
Right. So they're just trying to do everything they can. I think in excess of $20 million has been raised. Desmond Meade is just remarkable. The FRRC, Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, that's who the NBA has partnered with. And many celebrities and others have given money because they think it's just a travesty. Even Mike Bloomberg, $16 million. I'm not saying appreciate all the money wherever it comes from, because people recognize Black and white Republicans and Democrats. What we have to remember is this was passed originally by the people of the state of Florida. I used to live in Florida. I practiced with Willie Gary for almost 15 years. I lived in Florida. And, I always say all kind of crazy things happen in Florida.
The rules are different in Florida, aren't they?
The ballots in the middle of the highway.
Yeah.
How does that work?
The hanging chads.
Speaking of Ginsburg, it's funny you speaking of Florida as well. Rapper Plies had a very interesting post when he said Ginsburg fought her entire life to get women's rights. She always fought the rights of women, and Black people have been fighting for Black rights, civil rights. When has white men ever fought for anything?
They haven't had to.
When have white men had to fight for anything? It's amazing to me. The only group that never really had to fight for anything.
That's true.
But that's this United States we live in.
CK Hoffler, I know we're running out of your time, and I so appreciate this has just been so enlightening, and I love the engagement of the conversation. Will you come back?
I will come back. You don't even have to give me any notice. You give 5, 3 votes. Tell you, I love this exchange. Sybil, I'm such a big fan of yours.
Oh, thank you.
All you've done over the years, and God, the same to you. You all don't realize the impact that you have on everyone. People watch and listen to you all, have listened to you all for so long. So please keep on doing what you're doing. And just know that when you see about 7,000 Black lawyers out there, by the way, these people who are getting arrested, for instance, in Kentucky for protesting violent, Black lawyers were the ones that took the lead, our affiliate chapter, to get them out of jail, and then many times free of charge. So just know that we are out there in the field doing the work that we can, and it can be done in some instances remotely or out and about. And the Divine Nine have stepped up to the plate in a mighty way, and so have many other organizations. So we're going to do it. Just protect.
We are proud to join with you in whatever way we can. This question from Lynn Patterson Johnson on Facebook asks if the Attorney General of Kentucky is a member of the NBA.
Ain't seen his name anywhere.
She said, ain't seen his name.
Oh my goodness, that was so. I'm not aware. We everybody, we represent and everything, but I've not seen his name on our roll. So I'm not aware of him being a member of the National Bar Association.
Yeah.
So to the viewers, don't be surprised if CK comes on with rollers in her hair and a bonnet. Since she said 3-4 minutes, just call her in 3-4 minutes, you'll be here. So don't be surprised. You gotta.
I won't have to call to the bonnet because I can do that stuff real quick. 30 seconds, bomb. If you caught me before, then it would be that. But I really mean that. It's just so important what you all do. And to the extent that I can answer questions, there's so much to answer. People want to know we could train in 27 states. That becomes important when you've got national organizations that are your coalition partners. So we want everyone prepared. We also have a global partnership with LexisNexis. One of the things that those lawyers to do research when you're doing this election protection work and all that kind of stuff, you need access to resources. LexisNexis has partnered with us, and we're so delighted by our global partnership with them. So we have a lot of people who are aligned in this nonpartisan effort because it's the right thing to do. It's social justice. It's nonpartisan. Who benefits? Anyone who wants to vote. Who is targeted by election suppression? Our people.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Tomorrow, I just want to remind people, and you're invited to be a part of this, both of you. We're having a roundtable debate after the roundtable conversation after the debate, the first debate tomorrow night, and of course it's going to be wild and woolly. George Wallace and others are going to be a part of it.
Crazy George.
And our own take on how the debate went and the highs and the lows and all of that. So
I would love to participate. You talk what time?
We're going to be on right after the debate, so that'll be about 10:30 your time.
Okay.
But we'll get that information to you. Guy, we'd love to have you as well. I don't know what your nights are like now that your little Lakers are in the finals and all of that. I'm hating.
Let's not forget the baseball Cardinals and the wild card. Let's not forget the baseball team now.
And let's not forget the 2 Chicago teams that are also in the playoffs. I'm just saying. So you're right, player. You're right. So, and CK, I must also thank Michael Peary, who we share godparents. We both grew up on the south side of Chicago, and my mother's and father's best friends were also a big part of his life, too. So thank Michael Peary, and thank you so much. And we're going to be getting in touch with you about being on with us tomorrow. I think that'll be absolutely.
One more thing about Michael Peary. He's phenomenal. But I also have to recognize, for those of you from Chicago, I am chair of the board of Rainbow Push Coalition also.
Yes.
So we first woman, but we lift up Reverend Jackson, who's always been there fighting for us.
That's right.
Late Congressman John Lewis, Reverend Jackson and I met on March 2nd in Congressman Lewis's office in Atlanta. March 2nd of this year. You never know last time you went to someone. And they told me what Black lawyers needed to do during this election. They said, protect the right to vote. That was their call to me, and that's what I'm doing.
That's it. And you're following through on their plans and their great foresight. And I gotta give a shout out to Reverend Jackson too. I grew up as a push baby, as well as Reverend Willie Barrow, who was just an incredible woman. So tomorrow we will ask everybody to join us starting at 9:30 Central. All the folks on Facebook and YouTube Live, join us for this forum that is going to be a part of, I think, a part part of history as we start this first debate tomorrow night between, of course, Joe Biden and the gentleman in the White House.
Get your
Thank you
popcorn
so
ready.
much. And tomorrow, John Murray will be in with me, and we will have an opportunity to talk about things before the debate. CK Hoffler, you are a delight. You just absolutely,
Wonderful.
absolutely, I'm such a big fan, and thank you for this. Did you go to Smith?
I did.
You did. Okay. I was wondering. I have two good friends that I grew up with that were Smith women as
Oh,
well,
really?
and I saw something in your information about Northampton, and I was like, that she's got to be a Smith
Yeah,
woman.
yeah, I did. I graduated in ninth. Oh, that's right. I forgot my age.
No,
37.
that's
You're
not
37.
necessary.
37. Yeah, right. Okay.
37.
Stay down.
We will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. That is the wonderful president of the National Bar Association, and that is the wonderful president of the Guy Torry fan club. Guy, say happy birthday to your brother, Guy.
Yes, my brother, happy birthday. And I want to say I'll be in Arlington 15th to 17th at the Improv. I'm back on the road, so I'll be talking about voting again.
You're kidding,
Yes.
like in a couple of weeks?
Arlington
Okay, all right.
Improv, 15th through the 17th. Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, CK. We'll see you both tomorrow night, and that is on Facebook as well as YouTube Live, and we will also be having the show before and then, of course, the roundtable after. Let's see, Gabrielle Williams just got out of the hospital. Get well wishes to you. God bless you. And thank you all so much for watching. Tom Jordan, I hope you're watching and you're hearing all of this great stuff. We keep you prayed up as well. Thank you all, and we'll see you tomorrow. Be careful, be safe, wash your hands, cover your mouth.
What you need to
please.
know, what you need to know.
Thank you, Guy. That is what you need to know. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.